Okay, cool. Just reclaim the host and then we'll get started in a sec here. I'll record on my end too, just as a backup. All right, cool. Well, welcome everyone. My name's Claire. I coordinate the events at New Renaissance. I'm super happy you're here on this beautiful sunny day, at least in Portland. It's a beautiful day. And thanks, Shelly, for doing this with us. For those of you who aren't familiar with Shelly, Shelly is a sought-after professional dowsing master and speaker. She synthesizes her knowledge of emotional integration, heart resonance, and feng shui with dowsing into a dynamic whole systems model that evokes an energetic quickening in the field, uplifting the home, land, and business environment. Shelly travels the world, helping her clients from all walks of life achieve more balanced and successful lives. And perhaps she can improve your life as well. And as you all know, her new book is Songline of the Heart. And you can, if you live in Portland, you can pick that up at New Renaissance. We're open tomorrow. And I'll also put a link for our online store so you can order it that way too. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Shelly. Thanks for being here with us.
Great. Thank you. And I just want to invite everyone, I might put it on highlight. So if up in the right-hand corner, you can switch it to gallery view if you like looking at gallery view. But for some people watching, it's really nice for them to be able to get a full, clear picture. So just want to let people who aren't used to Zoom know about that. All right. Well, thank you for showing up, everyone. And I see people who I haven't seen in a while. I see people who I'm engaged with. Meet Mike, who is the publisher of this book, Manor House, and he's with us tonight. And I'm really thrilled to be here. And we'll just let people keep coming on. So I'm going to just put this on speaker view again in the right-hand corner, and invite everyone, invite everyone to put themselves on mute so that it will stay on speaker view. So there we go. And I don't know, Claire. And Claire, will you be on the whole time or are you? Yeah, okay.
So I'll be there, yeah.
Okay, let's see how this works. Great. Okay, beautiful Claire, thank you so much. And you need, let's see, this is interesting, maybe because you're the host.
You want to share your screen?
I want it put on spotlight for
okay.
right now until we just open it up to everybody. That'd be great.
So spotlight for everyone. Let's see.
Okay, cool, great.
Does that work?
Yeah, that's good. And for people who are watching the recording, welcome. And it makes it really easy for people to have that direct contact. And for myself, it's been a big journey to come here to you tonight. I should have been in Portland, Oregon live as well, but I'm here in Santa Barbara and awaiting a flight tomorrow to come to Portland. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of you there. And I'm excited tonight to open, really what I'm here for is to, yes, share this book, but to really offer an embodied experience of what this book is talking about, why this book is written, and maybe even why you would want to read it if you haven't already or haven't bought the book. And just a little note that New Renaissance is actually offering a great deal for this book as well. So the experience of dowsing. So this book is a dowsing book, but it's also a memoir and a journey. And it's a journey that each one of you will find a certain resonance with. And that's really what I want to speak to tonight, that when we're looking for a book to read or a book pops off the shelf, it's because there's something within us that when it's aligned with our creative purpose, or we could even say creator's purpose, there's a sense of joy. There's a sense of coming home. And this book is really about how to come home to our heart. And not only how to come home to our heart, but really to help us understand our relationship with our house or our home, and the land that we're living on has everything to do with really a sense of a personal relationship with your own life. So it's really about navigating home. And the reason the tagline says a navigator's guide to resurrecting your heart, home, and habitat. And some people, might look at that word and go, oh, why did she use that word? And I want to speak to that just for a few minutes. And then I'm going to invite you into a field of resonance for some of you who, and what I like to call heart resonance. But really that we are all always constantly in a process of transformation. We know that outside of ourselves, there is this chaotic, a lot of chaos going on and a lot of people suffering. And how do we hold and maintain a state of, you could call it centeredness, and in order to really feel joyful about our lives while others are, while there's a lot going on around us. So this book is really an opportunity to tap into what I like to call the quantum field, the field itself, that sensibility where we feel that we are moving with life itself, that everything that's happening to us, even if it's really challenging, just the way I was supposed to be in Portland, and 3 hours before I was getting on the plane, all of a sudden my daughter and granddaughter, got COVID. I couldn't go. How do we stay in that resonant field and really build that sense of trust? And dowsing, in my experience and the way it came to me, which was out of left field, began to open up a doorway to a sacred relationship with the land, and a sense of guardianship to, with where our homes are, with the people that might have lived there before. And all of this is encompassed in this book, and helping us to sort of widen our awareness, widen our sensibility of who we are in relationship to what's going on around us. So, and we will tonight, this is, I want to make this experiential. I want to give some time for you to ask questions. And so this will be one of the things that I really feel a need always is that it's participatory, that you'll feel that there is either an attractor field for, well, what is this frequency that called me here tonight? Or I might be able to really use as a resource for my family or my school, or my business. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. So with that, I'm going to invite everyone to just take a moment and to really feel your feet on the ground. Really sense that grounded awareness, that and what I like to call is the power of place, right? You're standing somewhere, you're standing on some land, or sitting in a chair in a house, and to make that full connection, right? So just taking a few deep breaths and allowing yourself to settle in deeper in your body. And really letting go of any concerns or worries just for this next 45 minutes. And opening to being informed by a living consciousness that actually exists within our house and in the land, a loving, supportive energy. And we're just going to breathe with that for a minute. And just come into that present moment of now. And bringing your awareness then to your heart. And as you're breathing, you can feel the undulations or waves. We are made up of wave motion, right? Emotion is energy and motion. And allow yourself to just kind of feel that sensate experience. And I would invite a moment of gratitude for how you're showing up, being here tonight in your life as a parent or as a business owner, whatever it is for you. And just bringing a little extra light to that embodied presence. And then allow your awareness to rise up above your head, about, let's just say, 1.5 feet tonight. And I like to call this the joy point, or for some, the J spot. We have to still have a little bit of humor here. And this place above our head, just allowing that sensation of connection with the vast universe. We like to call this the field of love, the field of connection. It's how we get informed of our next step. And allowing this energy to come back down to your heart, still feeling your feet on the ground, and becoming aware of the people in this room. And we could go beyond that out to your family of origin, your extended family, your community. So Songline of the Heart is really tapping into that particular energy that's moving you into your highest potential. And what would that feel like? To feel that deliciously happening more and more of the time. And very gently coming back into the space and opening your eyes. Doesn't take but a few minutes. And so tonight, I like to drop something in that came to me in this book. And as I took this epic journey, which is where the book begins, from San Diego to Australia. So it's a segment of the dowsing coming into my life kind of catastrophically, you could say, end, or maybe it was a new beginning. And in moving to Australia, learning about the Cathar people in southern France, and tuning into what I begin to speak about in this journey, the way of love. And that each one of us are on a journey to really feel that experience, that if you talk about Einstein, it's said that in his last moments, the last question he had was, is the universe friendly? And to tap into that possibility that that's true, that it's a loving universe that's always recalibrating into its highest order. And this is the beginning of this journey. And we know that many times relationships, jobs, everything, tends to change. And so this book is really taking you through how to navigate and stay in that magic. And ultimately for me, which was to learn to really track that sensate experience of joy, and offering that to you through these various experiences and these dowsing cases. But what ended up happening was I met a woman named Sana Purinton, and I just want to draw this into the space. And what she said to me at one point was, become aware of the clues, stay alert to the clues that you left yourself. What does that mean? What do you mean by that? And little by little by little, I began to become more aware of the movement of life through me, as a conduit, as a navigator. And that's really the story, and taking you through the guise of dowsing. So I'm just going to open this up. So what is dowsing? Why would you want to read this book? In fact, recently I ran across a store that said, oh, we've gotten rid of all of our dowsing books. And I was like, really? And it's really because people don't understand what dowsing really is. And dowsing essentially is making visible what's invisible, becoming, if we can know that everything's energy, but can we experience it? And so in my own experience, I began to see how when certain houses in an area were doused, there was a quickening in people's lives, people who had been doing a lot of therapy. All of a sudden, my clients started to move through things rapidly in a way that, they had been my clients for 3, 6, 8 months, a year. And I began to see that when we become aware of this relationship, the dowsing creates a container for us to access really our highest consciousness. And this is really the journey of the book. And each dowsing is very different. Now, people use pendulums, which I left mine. I don't think mine's here. I tend to use these. I'm working with homes and land, so these are called L rods. And I don't know if you can see this, but they swivel well, it's kind of hard on Zoom. And, do we need dowsing rods? Not necessarily. But what happens is it helps us to really become acquainted with a stronger relationship with our own intuition and confidence. And this is one of the things that I, through this time of going to Australia, and if you're reading the book, you get taken through these different stories of different individuals. Every story is different about how the dowsing opens up a field for them to grow in, to become more endearing with their partner, their family, and to create an environment that that really allows for a sense of ease and joy. So let's, maybe we can reopen the gallery and just see if at this point anybody has any questions about the book. And I have a couple of things. Yeah. Don't forget to take yourself off mute, by the way.
Yeah. Hi, Shelley.
Hi.
At one point, you just touched on something I found quite fascinating in your book, and that is when you go into a client's home and you douse the entire home, and occasionally, move objects and so on to create a better flow and so on. Not only do the people start to feel more comfortable in their home when they hadn't before, but other parts of their lives also become more successful. So perhaps you could expand a bit on that.
Okay, yeah, that's really true. And P.S. for me, I have a background in feng shui as well. And that's usually a question that people will ask, well, how is it different than feng shui? So, yeah, because first of all, anybody can douse. It's very easy. Second, you just have to learn a couple of things and then begin to learn what you're looking for. And you can go to my website, evolutionarydowsing.com, and download a 24 booklet. Will give you ideas of what I'm looking for. So what we're not aware of is, like, when we're feeling bad or when we're feeling depressed, these earth energy lines can create stress in our lives. They can make us sick. And we think it's something about us. We go to our doctors, we go to, but what I began to discover was when we start to clear the lines, all of a sudden things start to harmonize. And I would even use the word transmute. So what happens is, like, if you have a lot of geopathic stress, so geo just means earth, and pathic obviously means illness. There are places on the earth that the energy runs positive, but when it hits a house, it becomes negative. And so we might be sleeping in areas of our home that we don't know are causing migraines, are causing ill health. Another example would be, we know about EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. And those can cause a sense of, like we're talking about writing books, right? That can cause a sense of writer's block, a sense of cloudiness, fogginess. So when we clear some of these energies in our home, all of a sudden we feel more alive, we feel brighter, we can think more clearly. So in that respect, that's one way that it shifts how we engage, how that can change our success and our relationships. If there's something called a negative vortex in the home, which we know, we go to a waterfall and that's a very positive energy, right? We feel, or we go to a church, or we go somewhere where there's, we feel more enlightened, more awake. But on the same respect, a negative vortex can actually create a draining energy and can drain our immune system, make us not feel good, make us feel grumpier with our partner, or can cause a discordance. So if these lines are coming in, let's just say in a particular fashion, if you have, let's say, 3 geopathic stress lines coming into a corner of your house, for those who understand feng shui, that can create a stagnancy in relationship, in our success, in how the world sees us and how we're seeing ourselves. It can affect our self-esteem. So, and these are the things that, before COVID, I would be going to different, travel to Australia or go to different places and just do free presentations to help people. Because what starts to happen is, all of a sudden you start to go, oh my God, no wonder why I don't want to go into that room, right? No wonder why I moved and my 4-year-old son, who was such incredible, is having fits. No wonder why my child moves to a different school, room in the school, and all of a sudden an A student becomes a C student. So these are the things that, as a dowser, and again, most people think if sometimes they don't know about dowsing, or they think it's about just looking for water. And yes, can we look for water? Can we look for minerals? Can we look for, lost items? Absolutely. And you might be the one who learns dowsing, and that's your forte. It's not necessarily mine. But so in answer to your question, all of these, it's wonderful to understand the basics of how we are affected by the electromagnetic field, and how we're affected by these high tensor wires. Another example would be a client I had in Australia where she was trying to get pregnant, could not get pregnant, was doing in vitro. She was on her 3rd time. And I went and took a look at the house, and there were these high tension wires running right by their bedroom, and clear that and work with them. All of a sudden she gets pregnant. So these are the things that I hope does that answer the kind of the question?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have a burning question or thought that's popping for them?
So you say clearing it. So does that mean they don't have to move their bedroom? There's a way to clear that energetic situation.
Right. So yeah, so there are different methodologies. You can use anything from copper rods or crystals, programming the crystals in a particular way. A lot of people do spiritual clearings. You don't necessarily need. For me, my clients love to see the cures. They like to touch them. They like to, it gives them a sense of, oh, this isn't something woo-woo. It's actually, some of it's very scientific. Marty, who's on here tonight, just recently, I've been working with what he works with, what he calls reagents. And that's something else. Copper rings, like, let's see, oh, I think I have one right here, if I can get it out. So there's also these copper rings. If you know, in Zoom, it's interesting, but yeah, you can use these copper rings because these rings are made with the understanding of sacred geometry. They're made with understanding sacred cubics, which has to do with how the pyramids were built. And they create a literal portable positive vortex. And people, when you start to hold them and touch these tools, people have experiences that they're surprised at. Even if you're an engineer, people will say to me, oh my God, my husband's an engineer. I don't know, he's not going to go for this. And I don't have any worry, because when they start to see the rods move, something taps into their awareness, and things open in ways that we can't imagine. Yeah. But that's a great question. Thank you. Anybody else?
How common is it, Shelley, that you come across people who are in a situation where things are out of balance and, improvement is needed to make their lives much better?
Yeah, it's probably like 90% of the time. Even if, what tends to happen if someone's been involved in a spiritual path, or they use crystals, and their house, as we evolve, our house, we start attracting houses that really hold a higher resonance. But given what's happening on the earth, or if you think about, there's a great story in the book which talks about Dave and Ange and meeting them, and they just had bought this house, and the house was on ancestral land, and there was definitely fighting going on in that land. Guess who buys the land next? The Harley Davidsons, right? And you get all this energy going. Guess who buys the land next and the house? People, a couple, and they become alcoholics. So a house holds the memory of the land. And this is what I love helping people to, if I'm doing a dowsing, I'll always look at the ancestry of the land and the native people and what happened there. And so it's not our fault, but there's usually things that can really enhance the vibration of the house, even if, okay, here's another great example. In fact, I just got off the phone with her. So I always wanted to work with a feng shui master, because how does dowsing affect, a feng shui master, they've got the perfect house, right? And I always wanted to just go like, okay, so a wonderful feng shui master, I would highly recommend her, Deborah Harnett. She lives in California, Cinnabar Designs. So one time I said to her, I would like to, if you're open, I would like to douse her house. And what ended up happening was, so feng shui means wind and water. You're moving furniture, you're moving energy, you're working with energy, you're working with colors. But if you have a geopathic stress line cutting through your relationship corner, or you have something like, some of these other EMF things happening, it's not, the feng shui doesn't take care of it. So like what I like to say is that creates a portal to heaven when we bring those together. So so even the best house can be asking for something more. And that's what we want to listen for. And really, my goal isn't necessarily to go into every, you have to have me go into your house. I'm happy to teach you. It's so easy to learn, and it's such a joy. And essentially, you can help your own family and children, and to create an environment that is holding a high vibration. And if you think about the monks, where did they used to live? They used to live high up in the mountains, right? Why? They were above that Earth's atmosphere. They are, you could say, closer to God, closer to that vibrational field that we're all wanting to connect with. So we want our houses and homes to really be able to hold that frequency. It's vital at this point. So, you know, for the most part, people come to me because there is something going on. Or one other example is they're feeling stuck, and maybe they've done all kinds of trainings, but essentially what tends to happen is, and I'm going to invite everyone to stretch, and probably people here already don't have an issue with this, but you know, the house holds a consciousness. It is a conscious living energy, and it wants to support us. But what tends to happen is we're growing, and the house has almost like a glass ceiling of energy. So what we want to do is we want to open the house so that you can feel like you can expand. And I know that's, you know, for some people that might be a little far-fetched, but when you see it in action, and that's why each person's dowsing story is very important, which is why this is part of the book, because something starts to click in you. I'll give you one more example. Elizabeth, who's in the book, she, an older woman and artist, and she moves into this house, and she has terrible things happening with her neighbors. They're fighting her all the way while she's building this house. She moves in, she stops doing her art. She's ready to move. She wants to move. And then we happened to meet just as I arrived in Australia, and went up to her house, and turned out that there were actually 2 negative vortexes in her house, and her house was sitting at a precipice that looked way out over the bay. And if you think of Indigenous Aboriginal people, where did they bring even their dead? Where did they commune with the ancestors? They'd go to the highest point, right? Her house was sitting on the highest point. And so once we settled that energy and cleared it, a week later, she's doing her art. She's happy. She's not wanting to move anymore. She's, you know, so these, did she do anything wrong? No, you know, the house was beautiful, but there was just this, and I feel like more and more, given where we are as a culture, we need to start to really feel our relationship to the land and to the water, and get to know our watersheds. So the dowsing really opens this in a way that, you know, for a lot of people is unexpected.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. I see there's a question. Would you elaborate on the choice of words in the book's title? Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Sure. Okay. So, all right. Here's the deal. And it was and Mike knows that it was a very chancy thing to put. If you're looking at the cover of the book, you see that I'm playing a didgeridoo. In Australia, traditionally, women are not allowed to play the didgeridoo. Okay. I'm just going to hold that thought for a moment. Songline of the heart. So in Australia, and I think I'll just read you this one little piece about songlines, because it's a really beautiful piece. So traditional Aboriginal culture holds belief in a creation era and creation ancestors. These ancestors traveled across the country, creating the landscape, the animals, and the law under which human society was to live. The journeys of these ancestors across the country make up a songline. They're the long creation storylines that cross the country and put all geographical and sacred sites in place in Aboriginal culture. These ancestral sacred stories are passed on as large song cycles. In Aboriginal terms, the kinship lineage of the ancestral people from that country, or the custodians, had control over that songline. It was their duty to uphold the obligations of passing the song on in perfect form to the next generation. Each culture is taught the entire package of their culture over a series of stages of knowledge. Through these song cycles, people gradually learn the entire cultural story of their people. So I spent a lot of time in Australia, and it was really where, for me, the dowsing opened. And so when I'm speaking of a song line, I'm expanding it a little further, speaking to the song line of our heart. How do we track that song that's moving us to to fulfill our destiny, why we came, why we incarnated? So as I began to journey to Australia and then to New Zealand, which is where the book goes, it became an unfurling, when you think of one of those beautiful ferns unfurling, an unfurling of my own heart in the realization of who I was and what I came here to participate in and help create. And that's my desire for anyone reading this book, is that they can tap in a much deeper way to the songline of their own heart and discover their relationship to the land that which even where you were born. These are some of the things that we look at when we start to dowse and I start to teach, and it's a really beautiful thing. And again, a navigator's guide to resurrecting your heart, home, and habitat. So when your heart is in alignment with your home, okay, not every house is a home, by the way. So when you start to feel that sense of home and you have that widening of relationship to the land you're living on or why you're called to be there, something starts to it creates tears, because there's a sense of like, oh, now I know why I'm here. And everything softens and you feel safe, you feel connected, and you feel whole. And that's really what this book is about, is a return to wholeness. So I hope that answered your question and then just coming back to the book cover, there are some people that might be extremely upset with me. There's a longer story, which I can't get into tonight, of why this cover was chosen and why I was really being asked to hold to this. And there is a story in the book, a story of Lisa, who I met in Jaroa, one of my most favorite places in Australia, who was trying to sell it was a beach house, because she had bought 400 acres, and her dream, okay, so this is about your dream. Her dream was to have a center where people could come in Australia, and there could be places for people to stay, so like a retreat center. And so she was trying to sell this beach house. Now, a year and a half it hadn't sold. And when she heard about the dowsing, she said, will you please come and find out what's going on and help me sell this house? Things were getting very tight. And so I went there, and there was a negative vortex. And when I'm looking for a negative vortex, I'm just following the rods. I have no idea where it is. I just listen and follow the rods, as any of you can do. And at one point I came around the side of the house and into the corner, this sort of sunroom, and all of a sudden the rods started spinning. And when you hit a negative vortex, the rods will start spinning counterclockwise. And she just turned ash gray. And I said, well, what's the problem? And she said, well, that's where my husband passed away. And little by little, and I forgot to add that on the way there, I discovered that her husband loved the didgeridoo and played the didgeridoo. And there had been a didgeridoo that was in storage that had never been opened since his death. And I was being guided to have her bring it. And so she brought it, and we sat down, and without going into a lot of detail, the bottom line is there was one moment where I was being asked to play. And I had learned, I had sold didgeridoos for a couple of years and eventually taught myself how to play. And I went through an internal, and the book describes an internal, what's the word that's coming to me, is constipation. Like, I was like, oh, no, because I have been really honoring that in Australia, I do not pick up a didgeridoo. And I was like, no, I can't, but finally, long story short, I knew I had to, and I started to play, and she started to cry, and my daughter, who was a doula, happened to be there, and we held the space. And by the time we were done, and I finished the dowsing and I did the feng shui, that house sold, not even, I think like 10 days or 2 weeks later. And the house, when a house is holding that kind of energy, it's very difficult for it to sell. Now, mind you, yes, we're that we're coming out of a pandemic and houses are, like it's crazy what's happening. But the house holds that emotional energy. And so the reason that cover is there is because it's a story of really transmutation. She was able to move into her life. She became a light of her own expression. She, her whole life changed. So so that's why the cover is there. And I do honor the traditional, the Aboriginal and the culture of Australia. But I'm also having to, part of the way of moving forward is for us, each one of us, to really trust our calling. And that's really how the book ends, is really discovering who I was, and not as an egoic expression, but as, really being able to claim my own sense of self, which, for many of us is very challenging, so thank you for listening to that story. Anybody else? Thank you, Daniel. Yeah.
I think with everything that you're essentially teaching in the book, when you sort of take all of the threads and add them together, the sum becomes much greater than the
Yes.
Or the whole becomes much greater than the sum of its parts. And is there sort of an organized approach in dealing with this that you would really sort of recommend people apply in their lives?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, and perfect what you said, and I'll explain why in a minute. So, first, so there's the individual doing the dowsing, there's the individual experiencing the dowsing, but then we have the collective. And this is where we're moving as a culture. So the first thing is, if you haven't, just go download the book on evolutionarydowsing.com or Shelley@shelleydarling.com. Either one will get you there, because it'll give you just 24 pages of explaining some of the things that we're looking for, and it'll help open up your own understanding and have a sense of whether, whoa, I want to check this out more or not. Once you have that, I will be actually in Portland. I'm on July 16th, I'm going to do a one-day event teaching people about dowsing and what to look for. And you can go home and start working on your own homes or your friends' homes. Usually it's done in a 3-day event, or I also teach online. So you can go into the website and discover what is coming near you. If you feel that you have a group of people and you want to learn, just call me up and we can, do something online. It's easy to teach and get you going. So those are the ways. The other thing that for those of you who, have already been exploring this, and I think this was perfect that Mike mentioned this, is I'm going to just try and put this on speaker view for a minute. Oh, there you go. So, oops, let's see if I can hold. Okay, there we go. So the Sacred Evolutionary Dowsing Consortium. So in 2015, I was guided to start working with, my love is working with groups and group resonance, and how do we stay in connection with each other when we have different opinions, when we have different skills and wisdom. And so starting in 2015, based on what's called the 12 round one model, so never more than 12 people in a group, I started to invite people that were alchemists, dowsers, it can be a feng shui, it doesn't matter, just someone, a light worker, whatever you want to call yourself, and come and learn how to work as a collective, because together we're greater than the sum of our parts. And we began to weave our wisdom, and it's been going ever since. And we're actually writing a book right now. We've been involved with 2 years, but really through the guise of dowsing, and to work on people's homes and land, and as a collective, because exponentially things start to shift in a very powerful way. So this summer, if you're interested, what we've done is usually it's 12 weeks or months that we get together, but we decided, some of the field advisors decided that we would open it up so people could have an experience. So to come out of being just simply solo, a lot of us are doing our own individual work. And so I'm inviting you to come. And June 29th, so June, July, and August, once a month, we're going to invite you into the experience of what it's like to expand in what we're calling group heart resonance, and really work with the earth as a collective. And it becomes exponentially joyful and fun, and your toolbox just expands because you're meeting people from all over who have, we all have our various skills and gifts. And what ends up happening is everyone ends up with a level of confidence and trust that they didn't walk in with. So that's another way in which, you can, join as well. And of course, the other option is I'm happy to come douse your house or do it online, and you can learn that way as well, or just simply, have the experience first and then decide what you want from there. So those are the various ways, but just come connect on through the website, or email me at Shelley@evolutionarydowsing.com and say, hey, I want to learn more. And I'd like to just open it up for a couple of minutes, and maybe just a minute. I see Grace is here, and she came completely out of the blue. She jumped into the consortium, but I asked her to please come and learn a little bit of dowsing before, and she can just share a little bit about her experience. She hasn't read the book yet. Yeah, do you want to just quickly
I experienced the evolutionary dowsing in the group, and it's phenomenal. If you're interested in group collecting wisdom out of the field and just sharing, it's wonderful.
And would you just share about, like, not having any idea about dowsing to,
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. Just thought, okay, sign up for it and just try it. So yeah, it's just trusting your inner self, trusting that heart and the information, the wisdom that comes from the heart.
Right. So. And Grace and her friend Kathy, they're just going and dowsing their land, and she's creating a retreat center. So, and one of the things that I did learn was when people start opening their houses energetically, all of a sudden there's a sense of wanting to connect with the collective, wanting to make their home a gathering space. Things that people wouldn't have thought of prior start, it is really where we're being called in evolution. We're lining up with evolution itself, which is requiring that we step more deeply into our service. So yeah, thank you, Grace. Yeah. Any other? Mike, did you want to say something else?
Yeah. I'm just wondering if you can sort of encapsulate things. I think we're getting towards the end of the
we are.
The time, and just what you feel are the most important points, and sort of a conclusion type of thing.
Okay, so what's coming to me in the moment is trust. Learning to really trust ourselves, and I think for me, to encapsulate, dowsing came out of left field for me. I knew nothing about dowsing when it showed up, and I was really sick. And through someone coming and dowsing my bedroom, actually, I was better the next day. And then, and synchronistically, and this is the magic. This is how I would like to encapsulate, is that when we start living in that flow, things start happening more synchronistically. And so for me, the dowsing opened up a world of what I like to call magic, but a relationship with creator, God, quantum field, whatever you want to call it, in a way that I couldn't imagine. And was able to really learn to navigate my own life. And that's the invitation here. And I noticed recently over the past 6 months, I've been seeing all these people using the word navigate. It's become a trending word. But, to be able to, yes, this is part memoir. Yes, this is about can you learn dowsing from reading this book? Absolutely, right? It doesn't give you the actual steps. And that's what I would say, if you all of a sudden feel pulled to know more, I'm happy to offer, especially for people tonight, I will offer you an hour consultation as my gift for those people that are here tonight. If you buy the book, great, please buy it through New Renaissance tonight. Yes, you can get it on Amazon, but they're offering you a beautiful discount. And so I would really encourage that. You can just go to their website, and the link is in the chat, I believe. And just simply to ask and listen to your own heart. Why did you show up here? And what is it that could really enhance your journey, bring more joy to your journey? And I think I'll just leave it there. And I see that you can check out the chat. Marty says, throughout the book, there is a steady stream of coincidence and synchronicities and magic. Yes.
Oh, nice.
So that's really, lately I've been saying God speaks in synchronicities, and you can know that you're moving in the right direction. And sometimes we need that extra support. And the other thing that what I would leave you with is, if you're looking for a community of people that are really focused on restoring the resonance of their own heart, home, and humanity, right? Come play with us. And it's really like that. Just come play with us. And feel free to contact me. Let me know that you want to talk more personally, because sometimes something like this starts percolating things for you. Please feel free to call me. And I'm just traveling tomorrow, but other than that, I'll catch up with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you so much, Shelley. I loved it. I'm gonna get some dowsing rods immediately.
Well, I'll be seeing you in Portland.
Yeah.
We'll have to meet up.
And I'm definitely gonna buy your book. So,
Oh,
but yeah, I want to help out my mom. She's been having severe sleep issues. So I'm thinking something's going on in her bedroom. So
yeah. Listen, just let's I can help. Just call me.
okay.
and
Yeah, I'll send you an email.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Shelley.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you,
everyone.
Mike, and appreciate you all.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks so much.
Good night.